Over Christmas, I told you that I predict 2023 will be the year of censorship, in part because it was social media, not the mainstream corporate media, that finally spoke truth to power and helped free us from the lockdowns. It was social media, citizen journalists, who told the true story about the truckers, not Trudeau's official smears. And remember when Trudeau invoked martial law and deployed police on riot horses and started seizing bank accounts of his political opponents, the mainstream corporate media called for him to go harder and made up the most insane propaganda for him, like this bizarre claim.
I do ask that because, given Canada's support of Ukraine in this current crisis with Russia, I don't know if it's far-fetched to ask, but there is concern that Russian actors could be continuing to fuel things as this protest grows, but perhaps even instigating it from the outset.
By the way, that weird government journalist wasn't fired. If you can believe it, she actually got a promotion. Of course she did. So 2023 will be the year of censorship. There are a lot of ways that will happen. Some of it's happening already. It's nuts. They're coming for Dr. Jordan Peterson now. They're threatening to take away his psychology license, not for anything he's done to patients, but because some people don't like his political comments or his tweets. I don't know if they'll succeed, but the point is they're showing they can silence anyone, even Canada's best-selling author and most prominent public intellectual. If they can go after Jordan Peterson, they can surely go after you. That's their message. I don't know if they'll beat Jordan Peterson. Even psychologists are allowed to have political opinions, but the censors are changing the rules in other ways so that they rig the game in advance so that freedom of speech faces an uphill battle in the future. I don't know if you saw my video that I published over Christmas where I showed you an obscure section of Bill C-11, Trudeau's Online Streaming Act, as it's called, that's making its way through Parliament right now. It's section 9.11E of that law. It will give Trudeau the power to order internet companies like YouTube, Google, Instagram, Facebook to either boost or hide whatever news sources Trudeau likes. And so here's the exact wording of the law. Trudeau can, quote, make orders respecting the presentation of programs and programming services for selection by the public, including the showcasing and the discoverability of Canadian programs and programming services. By the way, the internet companies already do this to an extent. YouTube shadow bans conservative sites, and they demonetized our channel years ago. But if Trudeau gets his way, YouTube will be ordered by the Canadian government to promote every corporate mainstream media channel over ours, to push our site down in the rankings so you can't even find us. I mean, when you do a Google search or a YouTube search, how often do you click past the first page or two of results? Have you ever clicked past, say, the first 10 pages of results? I bet you very seldom have. But that's exactly what Section 9.11E will do. That's what discoverability means. Even if you type in Rebel News, you'll get 10 pages of CBC, CTV, Global News, and the Toronto Star. That's coming. That's written right there in the law. So it's just barely the new year. It's still first couple of weeks of January, and they're going after Jordan Peterson already. But let me tell you what happened today in a courtroom in Montreal, and will continue for several more days. Our friend, our journalist, Yankee Pollock, is on trial in Quebec right now for reporting on their lockdowns and especially on their curfew. It's hard to even believe, but for months, Quebecers were literally banned from leaving their homes. Whether you were sick or healthy, whether you were vaccinated or unvaccinated, everyone was sentenced to a form of house arrest. For a while there, they even banned people from leaving their homes to walk their dogs, which if you have a dog, you know is code for letting the dog go outside to go to the bathroom. Imagine if in the name of public health, you ordered people to have their dogs do their business in your house. So gross, and yet the corporate mainstream media in Quebec was completely supportive. 100% supportive, just absolutely obedient, except for Yankee Pollock. You know, we hired Yankee a few years ago to help us with our social media, not to be an on-camera reporter. He just happened to be based in Montreal, so when he was done his real job with us, he would go out at night, take his cell phone, and just step outside his house and document what the curfew was doing to people in Montreal. And it was actually riveting. and no one else was doing it. You'd think it would be a worldwide story that every journalist would want to do. Indeed, it was a worldwide story, but the Quebec media was not only submissive, they were supportive. They loved the lockdowns. They cheered for them, just like they cheered Trudeau's invocation of martial law later. And the police kept harassing and ticketing Yankee and being, sorry to say it, being assholes about it, to be frank. I mean, here's a clip.
Yeah. What's going on here? Oh, come on, the light is bright. What's going on here?
Sir, what are you doing here?
I'm filming.
Okay, so do you have a piece of ID with you?
Yes?
Do you have a piece of ID with you?
Yeah, I'm media.
Yeah, we'll take a piece of ID with you, sir.
Sure. Yeah,
Go on
okay.
the sidewalk.
Yeah.
You cannot be on the street.
Yeah, I'm in the middle of moving. You're talking to me. Can you not shine at it?
I don't know who you are. No?
I also don't know who you are.
I'm Constable Robert, 6473.
Okay. And who are you? I'm giving you my papers. No problem. Just...
Okay.
What?
Who are you, sir?
I'm with Rebel News. I'm not Media Juif. Who are you? What's your name and badge number? Can you give me your name and badge number? Can you give me your name and badge number? You're supposed to give it to me.
Media Juif? You know that means Jew media, right? I mean, Yankee happens to be a Jew, and I'm a Jew too, by the way, but I don't think any other Rebel News reporters in Canada are Jewish. I'm trying to think. We're of different races and religions. What we have in common is a belief in freedom. Yankee wasn't Jew media. Rebel News isn't Jew media. We talk about things that we all have in common, like our civil rights. It was a bizarre thing for police to say, though, wasn't it? And to say repeatedly, by the way. What a weird, gross thing to say, completely irrelevant, while harassing Yankee, who's Jewish. I'm slow to accuse people of being anti-Semitic, by the way. I'm not woke. I'm not always accusing people of racism for nothing. But really, what is up with that? And again, by the way. Of course, the religious slur was just words. What truly bothered me was that they kept arresting him, or at least detaining him, while ticketing him. And yet he did absolutely nothing wrong. I talked to Yankee just this morning. He faces 15 different tickets and charges totaling $15,000 in fines and penalties if he's convicted. Now, there's no way he could possibly afford that. No one could afford that. There's no way he could even afford the lawyers to fight that. Obviously, we're going to cover the cost for him. But here's my point. Yankee didn't break the law because the curfew had specific exemptions. Obviously, police and firemen and ambulance drivers could go out at night, and obviously people who had a night shift at the factory or whatever had night jobs. I mean, you could think of obvious exemptions. There were exemptions in the law. And one of the exemptions, believe it or not, was for the news media, for journalists. I say believe it or not because no journalists did. None that I saw, at least. They stayed at home. They loved the lockdowns. They supported them. They didn't want to go expose them. But it was absolutely a legal, official exemption to be a journalist. That's an excerpt from my show every night. It's called The Ezra Levant Show. That's me, Ezra Levant. You can see the whole thing behind our paywall. Well, there's a lot of goodies behind there. I do a show every weeknight. My friends Sheila Gunn-Reid and David Menzies and Nat and Kat have their shows too. You get a ton of content for just $8 a month. There's so much in there you won't find anywhere else. Go to rebelnewsplus.com.